vacation. So welcome to everybody. It is time for the Monday webinar. And I figured I'd share kind of a funny, interesting story about vacationing and all of that stuff. So we're talking about timeshares here. And I got sucked into a timeshare one time. Fortunately, I found out that they had a like a 5 day period that you can back off, and get your money back and everything. And after having a day or so to think about it, um, it turned out to be good that I had some time to think, because then I didn't end up going through with it. So I had this brilliant idea once again. Many of you guys have heard of travel websites like VRBO and Airbnb, where you can put your place up for rent, right? If you live in a cool place, people want to rent it for 2 days, 3 days, for vacation, you can do that. So I thought, you know what, my place is cool. I live 1 block from the beach. It's summertime. That's exciting for everybody. Um, Oh yeah, Airbnb, and VRBO, a couple of good websites. So I told my neighbor, who has the exact same place as I do. We live in just the exact same type of construction, and so I told him, I said, you should rent your place out this summer and see what happens. So he did, and he's renting it out like crazy. And so I thought, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. So to kind of tie this into timeshares, you buy timeshares and they say, look, you already paid for the vacation, so it forces you to take a vacation. This is what the salesman told me. Otherwise you say, oh, we'll do it later, we'll do it later. But if it's already paid for, you feel like you have to use it, then you end up going on vacation and your quality of life improves a whole bunch. And I thought, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. I'm going to do that. So I get on one of these vacation rental websites and I put my place up for rent. I said, you know what? I don't really work much on Fridays, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So let's see what happens here. So I put my place up for rent over the weekend, like a week ago. I put it up for last weekend, this weekend, next weekend, just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I thought, this will force me to get out of the house. We'll go have a little fun adventure with the family for a couple of days, and it'll be fine. And the money people are paying to rent my place out will pay for my little fun adventure that I'm going on. So we did it for the second time last week, and I'm so stinking exhausted. Like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I had to go. We were staying in San Diego because they rented my place out, and we're trying to find a hotel where we can take our dog and just doing all this crazy stuff. Totally exhausted. I get back just hammered, just exhausted, and people have lined up to get into my place, my house where I live, to rent it out because we're so close to the beach and all this stuff. So it's booked out this weekend and next weekend and so on. And so I'm getting online and I'm emailing people and canceling. Sorry, there's mold. We have mold. The house is not safe to stay in, and because I kind of like awoke the sleeping giant, and it's great. I'm happy people want to rent my place out, but now I'm being kicked out of my own house every weekend for the next a couple of weekends. So I'm doing it this coming weekend, and then no more, because I have to give people at least a little bit of notice to plan something else. But I've rented my house out. Who does that for 3 days? And it's pretty good. It's pretty decent, money and so on, I guess. But good heavens, it's not worth the amount of effort it takes to pack up my family and be forced out for 3 days and go stay in crazy hotels, which are nice. I don't mind doing all that, but oh man, yeah, that's right, Bruce. You can come move on in. Oh man, yeah. Anytime you live next to the beach, it's pretty intense. Yeah, but you can make some pretty good bucks. It's pretty cool. I just have a little 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom place, and I live right next to the beach, and it goes for 500 or 600 bucks a night, which is cool, and so that pays for a hotel somewhere else and all that stuff. But it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of effort getting out and being forced to go somewhere else. So yeah. Oh, I know there's some horror stories, Scott. There definitely are some horror stories. Fortunately, I haven't experienced anything yet, but I'm sure my time is coming. Hopefully, it's not coming, because I think I'm done doing it. It was a good effort, but it's a lot of energy. Yeah, definitely good to travel overseas. So yeah, I'm just doing my Airbnb, just living it up, renting my place out, forcing myself to go do something exciting. So the intention is good. It's turned out good, but I'm really tired. It's Monday and I feel like I've run a marathon already. So it's exciting. Um, Anyway, that's my crazy story for the weekend. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Thanks for attending and joining us for the Monday webinar. We have some good stuff to talk about. I only want to talk about four currency pairs. The markets are kind of choppy. We have kind of summery conditions that are a little bit difficult to trade, and so there's some kind of medium term trades that I'm looking for that I think will be very interessante. So let's talk about that. We have a lot of news coming this week. We finished the week up with U.S. and Canadian employment numbers, so that's always a big deal. You guys ever read a magazine backwards? I used to do that all the time, and I thought it was dyslexia, but I guess that's reading words backwards, or I don't know. Anyway, so I'm just looking at the calendar backwards. Friday is a lot of big news. Thursday we have some pretty big stuff. We have interest rate announcements for the UK, which is always big. We may have a rate statement. We have Carney speaking Thursday morning as well. Australian and Japanese news coming out there. Wednesday, we have employment numbers for Australia. That's a huge mover. Trade balance for US and Canada. That's big. Tuesday, we have employment numbers for New Zealand. That's big. And tonight, we have interest rate announcements for Australia. So there's just a lot of news. And in fact, I think we'll be live for this Aussie news in the group. So we'll do a live session for paying members of the group tonight at 9:30 p.m. So that's in about 5 hours. And we'll just do a little live session. We'll jump on and see how the markets are looking and see if there's an Aussie trade we can take with that all coming up. And we'll have another few more live sessions this week as well, including a live non-farm payroll session. So anyway, lots of news to look at. If you want to see how we more specifically trade all this, you can go to daytradersfx.com/join. You just click right on that link right there, and you can get a 5-day free trial. We'd love to have you, and it'd be fun to get to know a few more traders a little better. Always very exciting. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking for and looking at and doing. Yeah. So that's where you can get set up with us. Okay, so that is interesting, and I think also we have some really great trades. So I mentioned I want to talk about two or about four trades, excuse me, in general. The euro dollar is unadulterated crap right now. However, I think it might actually give us a good trade, which is weird, but I think it will. So the euro dollar is looking interesting, and let me just tell you what I think is good about this euro dollar. We have a well. Let's even take this back another step here. Let's just, for the heck of it, go back even a little bit deeper. We have signs. Right now oil is moving lower and gold is moving lower, but the dollar doesn't seem to really be strengthening a lot yet, and I think it's going to. I think come September, the dollar is going to take off again. I think the dollar is going to very potentially go crazy in September, and so that's going to be pretty exciting. So here's the dollar index, and you can see that it's not really. This is our daily chart. Let's go to even a weekly chart. Dollar index hasn't done anything for quite a while. It had this huge move right here, and then a big pullback, and then it's just sideways garbage. And so dollar index is just really sitting and hanging out. Sharon will talk about the Aussie for sure. Since March, the dollar index reached its high of just that 100 point, I guess we got about 100.40 level, and then it's just been sideways. We had a low of 93, and then another recent high of 98, and it's just sideways. Dollar index isn't doing much. All the while, you can see things like oil has just taken a big dip today. If we look at some oil right here, you can see oil's down a good little bit. And has been coming down. If we look at the last 3 months, obviously it's been coming down like crazy. But the month of July, it was up over $55, and now it's down to $45. So oil's coming down. We can see that gold is coming down. Whoops, that's the wrong one there. Gold has been coming down a nice little bit the last couple of weeks. And so all these things are happening, but the dollar's not really reciprocating that a ton. In fact, the US dollar is just kind of holding steady. And I think we're going to see a little tiny bit more dollar weakness, and then we're going to see the US dollar probably take off and go crazy again. Remember, this is the middle of summer. I mean, we're getting towards the tail end of summer here, but But probably for the next month of August, we're not going to see a huge amount of movement still. But as we get into September, September, in my opinion, will be the latest point that we'll see massive dollar, or excuse me, that we'll see kind of quiet summer markets, and I think we'll start to see some massive dollar movement. So what I want to do in the meantime is I think we're going to see a little more dollar weakness here. We have a nice, you can see this on the 4-hour chart. You can see it pretty well on the daily chart. Look at this little inverse head and shoulders pattern. We have a nice double bottom right here. Nice double bottom at about 108.10. You know, we could even say 10800 area is kind of our double bottom on euro dollar. That's great. And then we have this little inverse head and shoulders pattern. There's a shoulder, there's a head, there's a shoulder, and here's our big slanted neckline right here. So I just basically want to buy the euro dollar as close to 10800 as possible, with stops, at or below 10800, just a little bit below 10800. And I just want to buy this thing and see if we can get it back up to 112, 111, 112, right around there. This double bottom's holding, and we have a fantastic inverse head and shoulders pattern. So if I can get this just a hair below 10900, I think I'll probably jump into it with about 100, a little over 100 pips stop, somewhere around there. Or even a little bit less, and just get a stop below these lows and just buy this euro dollar. So I want to buy it as close as I can to 10800, and I want to target the 11100, 11200 zone, and just see if we can make a chunk of change on that move there. So like I said, I think we're going to see a little more dollar weakness before we start to see some big dollar strength. Remember that the euro dollar has had this huge move down, and it's holding onto these lows really nicely, and it's crossed the 23% fib, so it still has a very high likelihood of making it up to that 38% fib, which is all the way at 11800. It probably will eventually get there. But we at least have, this daily 200 moving average that's slowly creeping down at 113.50, 60 now, and just kind of keeps on moving there. So I'm not going to look for any extreme levels, anything extreme, anything crazy. Just I'd like to buy somewhere below 10900 with stops somewhere below 10800 with profit targets somewhere above 11100. That's basically what I'm looking for on euro dollar, and I think we're going to get a nice little move there. It's going to be choppy, and we're going to have to go in with some small trade sizes most likely, and just let it play out. Pound dollar is probably going to be very similar to this kind of a situation. The pound dollar has been holding pretty well. It may be trying to create some sort of inverse head and shoulder, or excuse me, regular head and shoulders pattern. I don't know. I don't really see anything too crazy at the moment. But pound dollar has made a nice run down and a nice retracement, and then it's pulled back from there. And I think this pound dollar may be able to hang on just a little bit. And you can see that we have this fantastic resistance level here, still around 156.75, and I still want to be long above 156.75. But likewise, I would like to buy the pound dollar if it dips down to around the one, probably actually better said here, I'd like to buy it somewhere between 154.50 and 155.00. That's just somewhere in that 50 pip range, I think is going to be our spot. So I want to buy this thing another 50, 60, 70 pips lower, 80 pips, even 100 pips lower. I want to buy this pound dollar with stops somewhere below 154.50, maybe even 154.00, and see if we can trade this up to 156.75, and then ultimately into 157 and 158.50. So I think we've got, if we can get in, let's just say we can get in somewhere around this 155.00. We've got 250 to 350 pips worth of profit target, and I think that's a pretty easy thing to hit, and it'll be a nice little trade to grab some pips out of. So that should be very, very good. So both euro dollar, I'd like to buy euro dollar, at least 50 pips lower than current market price, with probably 100 pips stop and a couple, 2 to 300 pips profit target. Pound dollar, I'd like to buy it around 100 pips lower than current market price, with probably around 100 pips stop, and again about a 2 to 300 pip profit target. So pretty similar trades on both of those, and I think those are going to be great. I'm not really doing anything on Aussie dollar. We'll talk a little bit more about the Aussie dollar with group members tonight for the Australian interest rate news, and kind of see where that all goes. We have a little bit of movement and so on, some things happening there. I still like, interestingly, I still like this dollar yen. This is a trade we've taken in the group, and dollar yen looks good. I'm going to talk about this more with group members, but essentially, I want to buy this thing on another dip. I think dollar yen might be headed back up, and I think I want to be in on that one. So dollar yen's looking interesting. That's going to be a fun trade coming up with the group that we'll do. So just know that we're kind of buying the dip on dollar yen. But we had some very specific entries um, with euro dollar and pound dollar. So keep those in mind. Dollar yen is going to have something excellent coming up as well, and I'm excited about that. And euro yen, I really like euro yen. And the biggest thing I like about the euro yen is this head and shoulders pattern. I've talked about this 100 times. And just taking out of the equation correlations and and what the yen's doing and what the euro's doing. These are all very important factors, by the way, very very important factors. And I'm just choosing to completely ignore them. And basically, I'm going to be short euro yen below 135.50. That's pretty much just what I'm going to be doing. I'm shorting the break of euro yen 135.50, and I'm going to be targeting some pretty big levels to start off. At least target this neckline here, which is around 133.00 to 133.50. So there's immediately 200 plus pips to work with at the break of this level. And then I'm going to hold on to this thing the best I can because I think it's ultimately going to head down into some of these much bigger levels. And I think this could be a 4 to 700 pip trade. But 135.50 should start the party here on this euro yen, and we start breaking below that, and this could just keep on trucking down. So that's going to be very very interesting, and I think there's going to be a good opportunity there. And likewise, Aussie yen is giving us some interesting stuff here. We're seeing a lot of Australian dollar weakness, and we'll see how things play out with the coming news. We have a lot of interest rate news and employment numbers and so on with Australia that's really going to cause a lot of havoc probably in these trades. But we've had this nice run down, and we've got a nice little double bottom here around 89.16, 89.15 area. And we start breaking through that, and I think I want to be short Aussie yen as well. So nice little trend line, nice tested everything. It's just looking so good, and it's starting to break through these lows of this year and really making a nice little move there. So Aussie yen should be a nice little 3 to 500 pip mover as well. So those are kind of my favorite pairs right now. I have several others that we're going to talk about with the group, but I think these are great ones to keep an eye on. Aussie yen short, euro yen short at the breaks of lows here, and euro dollar and pound dollar long after they dip down a little bit, and probably dollar yen long after it dips down a little bit. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for at the moment. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be all very good. Dave, yeah, New Zealand yen, that could be a great little short. Pound CAD. Let's see. Let's bring up this pound CAD for 2 seconds. I think I've got it hidden back here somewhere. The pound CAD, I haven't watched it much this week. It's moved a little bit. We've got some nice signals here that it might be approaching some overbought territory, and that'll be worth keeping an eye on. But yeah, pound CAD should be interesting as well. And there's about 4 or 5 other pairs we're going to be watching this week. But I just wanted to talk to you guys specifically about euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, not so specifically, and euro yen and Aussie yen. I think we're going to see some really really great opportunities on those pairs. So they should be very exciting this week, along with several other pairs, especially Australian pairs after we get some interest rate news today and kind of see where that goes. Yeah, that's interesting, John, on the Aussie New Zealand. It's definitely there's definitely a major hammer right there, and so it looks like it seems to be holding pretty well indeed. And the Aussie yen, or excuse me, Aussie New Zealand, has 114.50 as like a minimum target for me. So that's what we're looking at. Amy, nothing too much for me on dollar CAD. I am watching the fact that dollar CAD is slowly narrowing into this wedge, and it's pretty overbought on the 4-hour chart. But as long as we keep seeing this big slide in oil, that's not going to put a lot of dollar CAD strength on just yet. But probably in the next week or so, we'll be looking for dollar CAD shorts. Maybe this week, but probably over the next week we'll be looking for that. So let's pay a lot of attention to euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, Aussie yen, euro yen. So that should be pretty exciting. So that's what I'm looking at. Questions, comments. Let's talk about it. Let's hear what you guys have to say about everything. and let's take it from there. But those should be some great trades. Again, we have a lot more things that we're looking at, but these are the ones I wanted to share with you guys specifically right now, um, before this week really gets cranking. So questions, comments, let me know. Thanks for joining, guys. And I'm gonna get this recording up and posted right this moment.